Hi, welcome to Two Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Mealy.
I'm Maria Shahada.
And we had a cartoon logo designed, and we decided for the month of August, everybody gets free stickers that signs up for our Patreon. So I've already sent out like all the most of the stickers to our current Patreons. We got some new ones since I announced it on Instagram, but it doesn't matter what tier. If you join our Patreon, you're gonna get some dope stickers.
Oh my God, are they so cute or what?
They're
Look
so
at the
cute.
little cartoon me and Liz. Okay, if you're
know.
listening, you're not seeing it right
Yeah,
now.
but you just follow us on Instagram. You'll see it.
Sign up for our Patreon, and then you get the stickers.
And then you get dope stickers. So it's funny. I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, we had stickers made." She's like, "I want a sticker," and I was like, "Do you give to our Patreon?" She's like, "I'm a guest."
Actually.
She does. She gives to our Patreon, and she's
I'm
a guest.
actually a co-host.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the logo that we went through.
Yeah.
All the no-goes. And
we had so many no-goes. I have to say, I think we're gonna have to intersperse some of the pictures because they're pretty amazing.
But we should probably make stickers out of the rest of them too, because
that would be so funny.
Just
all our no-goes. Yeah, just being like, do you want the first reject logo, the second reject logo? Well, this is the best part about it is like.
Well, wait, no, because I want to do announcements. I know you're all like fired up, but like.
You got me emotionally invested.
I really did. I really had to kill that, and I feel terrible about it.
All right, do your announcement.
Yes, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. You'll get updates about when we are releasing episodes. That's what subscribing does. I've told you new information.
Yeah.
Please rate and review us. It helps us a lot, and it makes our day. 5 stars.
Stickers, Patreon, stickers.
Yes.
I just come in. I'm just like stickers.
Month of August, assuming this podcast goes out in August. Who knows when it will go out?
No, it should. It has to.
But we will be giving away free stickers for not free, I guess, but like Patreon.
Yeah.
Every new Patreon, whatever tier you're at, we'll send you some stickers. And subscribe. Right?
No, we're done. Okay. Logo talk.
All right.
We have to let them know about this logo. Okay. So
Pops Network.
Yeah.
Check out all the other podcasts on the network. I hope you listen to me on the Best Bad Movies podcast where I talk about North Shore, the 1987 surfer movie. And Liz, I think, was on it. Were you on it?
No. I
You
wasn't.
will be. So, okay. All right. Let's talk about the no-goes and the logo.
Okay. So we wanted to do like a cartoon logo, and I was super excited about it, but like we wanted something that had our face, and it was a little difficult to find somebody that did faces. Like we found a couple of people that we liked, and we were like, hey, this is what we're thinking, and they're like, we don't do human faces. And I kind of get that. I'm like, dragons and zebras are so much easier and more fun to draw. We felt like we had a couple of false starts. Then we find a guy, he's like, sure. And I thought because we had the little logo that I had made of just like a picture of us, I was like, oh, just something like this, but cartoon. We gave him I have to say, I can't blame him. We gave him a very loose, like, make us cute and look like this. And I sent a couple extra pictures. I was like, this is what our hair looks like. This is our face. Me and Maria are 5 hours different. So I get the logo and I send it to her pretty much in the middle of the night for her. And what did I write? I just wrote, no.
It wasn't even like, what do you think? Or I don't know, have some reservations about it. You were like,
I wish I had a stamp that was just like rejected.
I know. You were like, I don't even know where to begin telling him how to fix this. Like, I don't, you were just so, you were like, I hate everything about it. I hate it. I just want to preface this by saying we're not completely shitting on this person because we use their design, but what happens when you're using a graphic designer or somebody who you're trying to get your ideas across for art? I don't know if you've ever played that game, Liz, where it's like an improv game. It's called Mind Meld, and you both start with two, like whatever words come to your head. Like I'll say watermelon and you'll say, lawn chair. And it's just two totally random things. Like I have this and you have this. And then eventually, so you have to combine watermelon and lawn chair and eventually get to the same word. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Anyway, that's what like working with somebody who's trying to creatively design what you're talking about is. It's like just going through many, many renditions of the idea. And so we've been through a few funny ones is all I'm saying.
Yeah, because I always like to trust the artist. I like to not be heavy handed. Like I have some ideas, but I was like, because I liked all the designs he kind of had put out there, I was like, okay, this is what we have so far. Can you do something with this? I mean, we'll show you the picture. For the most part,
what was so wrong with it? What did you hate about it?
First of all, our ears. Like, I actually do have big ears, so I felt like he like went through my Facebook and found. I feel like all our ears. I wish you could see this better. I have such bad. It was just like our ears were like out like Dumbo, and then we looked like two middle school kids that our parents just dropped us off at summer camp. You're wearing a hoodie. I'm wearing some like hand-me-down shirt My sister didn't like when she got it originally.
Because it wasn't just that I was wearing a hoodie for whatever reason. He decided to put me in a hoodie. And even in the last rendition that we finally used, it scrubs. It's still a fucking hoodie. And
yeah,
so, but what bothered me was my eyebrows were thick. Yours too?
Oh, they were like triangles. No, this is my favorite part. So you had like these triangle eyebrows, like huge, thick eyebrows. And I was like, that's, first of all, as two women that really make an effort to tweeze back our eyebrows.
It was rude because we pay a lot of attention to our eyebrows. And
Dude,
we've been in lockdown, thank you very much.
But this picture was before lockdown.
Even Johnny, when he saw it, and without any prompting, I just said, what do you think of this? He goes, it's not being very fair to your eyebrows.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you. My favorite part is, so we get this picture, and it was like almost like I'm an emergency meeting. That's how you know we're girls. We're like, this is not okay. And so I'm just like, okay, no offense to this guy, but we need to tell him exactly what we want. My favorite part about this emergency hour-long meeting to fix our logo is that we came up with all these. We're like, okay, we're gonna have a stethoscope. It's gonna be like a circle around our like badges of honor. Like we're gonna have a name. We had like all these ideas, and then we Googled like medical podcasts, and every single one of our idea was done.
Yeah, like, we had no idea we were such hacks.
We had no idea. We're like, oh, okay, the stethoscope will be a microphone which will hold up the microphone, and then and like it's been done like 90 times. And at the same time, we're not doctors, so we're trying to show that we're not doctors. Every time we came up with an idea, we were like, this is it. We would Google it and it would be like, scratch that. There's 16 podcasts that do it and it's already been done. So then we started doing what we do is we creatively were like, okay, I think you started asking like, what is our podcast about? And finally I was just like, Google's. We have no education, Google. And so we designed it after kind of the Google logo in a way. So it's just like, they make it kind of crafty and cartoony, and then it has the search bar. And I think that kind of like opened up our eyes. Basically, this guy, I broke down exactly what I wanted. I was like, okay, we're going to use this part of this logo to show us popping over the logo. We're going to use this for the faces. We're going to use this, like broke it down. And so the next design was just a monstrosity of what I had described. He started to get it right. It really started to build. But it was so funny to me because like one of the Google logos had like a space theme to it. But I was just trying to be like, just the guy popping out. That's how we want to pop out over the logo. And so he does that and he did a great job with it. But then where it says two non-doctors, it's all like planets. Like it just didn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense, but he took you so literally, which fair enough. He probably was like, I have no idea what this podcast
These
is.
women are crazy. And then he never got rid of,
and every email you wrote to him, he probably, I would be surprised if he didn't come up with the angry face that you ended up with on his own.
Yeah, because that's how
just from all your emails.
Well, my favorite is I was like, one of the first things I said, I was like, Maria's eyebrows need to be smaller. And what he did was take my eyebrows and put them on your face and your eyebrows and put them on my face. Yeah. I wasn't like, I'm jealous of her eyebrows. That must be his
thing.
We
looked like boys. We just looked like little boys who were like, doctors. I don't know. And then like the logos were pink.
Yeah. Well, my favorite is that, my thing was the ears. I hated that our ears were out and like Dumbo-like. So he put two different versions of us on the same thing. And the first one hit our ears, but on the other one, our ears were out. And I was like, do you not know anything about the insecurities of women? I don't want like them to see a variety of my ears. Like that's not,
yeah. I mean, but this is why most people are like, don't do faces just because of exactly this stuff.
Yeah.
And people.
But I have to say, as we got closer, like I love our logo. Like I'm absolutely, like it makes me so happy, but like the amount, like I have to show like the progression was just like, and then of course, every time I sent it to you, you're like eyebrows, thinner. Like that was your note every time.
It was like thinner fucking eyebrow. It's like the fifth time
I just felt like I was there like threading as he's making it. I'm just like, I want to go to him and just be like, hey, you're hurting our feelings every time you do this. So anyway, we're very proud of our logo. I did have a follow-up. I forget what episode it was that I was talking about my itchy ears. I think it was the exercise fad ones, where I talked about how I thought my ears were clogged. Speaking of my ears, since I have insecurities about them, I went to the doctor. Honestly, it became unbearable. Like I was actually having trouble sleeping. And you know what's funny that I never thought about when we were discussing it? Because it was the first question my doctor asked me. She's like, do you feel like you have difficulty hearing? And I was like, no, I don't think that's a problem. And she goes, well, I can see right to your eardrum. She's like, honestly, there's no problem. She's like, it's just really dry. Do you have like eczema or anything? It looks like it could be eczema. I was like, yes, I have eczema. And it's coming back like pretty bad since quarantine because I've been eating garbage. And so she's like, I think you have eczema in your ear canals. So that's why my ears are itchy. So it's kind of good that I didn't do anything weird experimental with like that candle thing I was talking about. Like, because there wasn't even any blockage. So she did clean them out just in case, but then she gave me like steroid drops, which I've been using and it's helped immensely. But everything I know about eczema is like you use the steroid and it comes back.
Oh, so when I use steroids on psoriasis, it felt like it came back worse.
Yeah. So my thing is I started going gluten-free. Remember how I've been trying to go gluten-free since like February?
Yeah, the gluten is back. I feel like we should all be able to buy one of those things, you know, that they look into your ears with. It has the light and there's like the little pointy cone. We should be able to buy one on Amazon. How fun would it be just looking at everyone's ears?
Okay, first of all, I do think it's kind of fun. Like, I actually am 100% behind you on that. But I want to be able to do it to myself. Like, I want there to be some kind of, like, weird, like, Google, you know?
No more talking. Let's just invent that. Because I think that's a brilliant idea.
Because I am very curious about what's going on in my ears. I am. Like, I'm genuinely, like, I want to know.
I know. You are actually the biggest dork. But...
I have questions and I want to answer them on my own. What's wrong with that?
I love
that. Should we get into our Googles?
Yeah.
You want to go first?
I Googled, is a weed hangover a thing?
Oh.
Been dabbling a bit lately. Just a little bit pot. A little bit of a hash. Which I don't enjoy the hash so much. And I don't know what the difference is. That was another Google.
I literally was going to say, I don't know what the difference is.
It's resin. It's like a more concentrated resin, but it doesn't feel stronger. I just fall asleep like immediately. I just smoke it and we're still watching Mad Men still, but you know, I was like,
I'm so mad.
Oh my God.
Shut up. God, sneezing on a podcast is so upsetting. Sorry, you were talking about your drug habit, Maria?
Yeah, well, the next morning I'll feel like a little bit like groggy, headache, a little nausea. Nothing insane, but I'm like, is there such thing as a weed hangover? Because I don't feel good, you know, and I haven't drank in 8 months. So it's easy to tell because I usually wake up feeling fine. And so most people say no, but it's hard to tell because a lot of people mix weed with other things. So that's hard to tell. Biggest things reported were fatigue, which you're sleeping in. If you went to bed late, you'll have that. But also the cannabis can affect the REM activity. And so it can inhibit you from actually like sleeping
getting
well.
Like the proper type of sleep.
Yeah. And there was only like one study done. There was one study done in 1985 and another one in 1990. And then they sort of just dropped it because I don't think it's a real problem. Nobody really has a problem. Headaches might be because you're dehydrated. So I thought this was fun. I found out why we get dry mouth. It's because THC binds itself to the CB1 receptors, or in your saliva glands, causing them to stop producing saliva. That's why you get dry mouth.
But is that dehydrating you?
It's just saying, well, if you have a headache, maybe you're dehydrated and you didn't drink enough water before, during, and after. And then
don't blame the weed, blame yourself.
So that's basically it. But most people don't report having any weed hangovers unless if you do it enough.
If it interrupts your sleep, I think that's always more because like I feel like when I feel groggy, it's because like I woke up in the middle of the night or like I went to bed super late. Like I wonder if it's just, I know that there's certain types of weed that actually help you sleep, and that's why a lot of people smoke it. I mean, it's kind of contradictory, but they're starting to say like some sleep medication isn't really helpful in the sense that you will pass out, but you're not getting the right type of sleep. We should do a sleep episode, but you're not getting the right type of sleep because you're not hitting that REM sleep or REM sleep. Is it REM or is it REM?
I don't know.
Is it a band?
Did I say REM is the band, but that's probably based off the thing. So maybe it's REM sleep.
I don't know. We'd have to do a sleep episode.
What did you Google?
Okay, mine was silly. Why does bleaching my hair make it less curly? So I've done an ombre, which, you know, for any boys listening, it's just like kind of like the kind of tips of your hair. You don't do it at the root. And I do that for cheap reasons, which is I thought it looked cute, but also you don't have to upkeep it. You can just let it grow out. And it's funny, I like my hair having a little bit of color, but I notice I don't like my curls as much, and they seem just drier and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know what's funny? Everything talks about textured hair, and I've never heard of curly hair or wavy hair being talked about as textured hair. The same way that somebody might call you a person of color, and you're just like, that's weird. I don't know. Like when those phrases start to become new, you're just like, am I saying this right? As someone with textured hair.
Have you seen the curls? Like you have different kinds of curls. You can have like C1, C2, C3 curls.
That's a new thing too. They just started like a couple of years ago, like labeling your curls, which I love. Like I'm fascinated by, because these aren't my best curls, but I would say I used to know what I was. So, you know, I'm not like, you know, black girls have like super kind of kinky tight coils.
I have S curls. You have big like curls.
Yeah, like I feel like our curls are pretty similar, but it does make me sad because I do like my curls and I want them to be as they're curly best. But it basically says bleaching raises the cuticle to remove the color pigment from the shaft of the hair, or the hair shaft, which also removes moisture. And if anybody knows, curly hair is all about moisture. Moisture, moisture, moisture. That's how you have the best curls. So basically what the bleaching does, it basically causes your hair to be brittle and have these dry strands, which makes it easily able to break. And yeah, basically just says your hair gets weaker after bleaching. And then because our hair is like coily, there's more places it could break, as opposed to if like you have straight hair, most likely it's going to break at the root. But because of us, because the curls, it could break here, it could break here, it could break here. And then the other thing is, the darker your hair is, the longer you have to keep the bleach in. So we both have pretty dark hair, so our bleach was in it longer, and because it was in it longer, it makes it even more weak. So it just kind of made me sad. I mean, their whole thing was like, you know, like I had my hairstylist do it. I wasn't doing it myself or anything. But it still just kind of like made me sad, where I'm just like, I'm looking at these famous people, because I do have fantasies about kind of going blonde just for funsies.
I want to go to blonde. I
don't know what that is. Like, it's not like, it's the same way that like as soon as quarantine happened, I like changed my room around and I just like moved my bed from one side. I do that all, if I'm not going to move, I just like moving my stuff and walking in my room and being like, it's different. I mean, the same way that I changed my jokes I just like things being different. And so you just kind of get to a place where you wake up, your hair's blonde, and you're like, I don't even know if I like it. It's just different. So I had fantasies about
cut to my wall.
yeah. Oh yeah, it is different.
Really blue.
Yeah, I like it. I guess there's a part of me that's like, I'm going to have to wait until I'm like super famous to do that, because it needs to be done properly, because I want my hair to be curly still. Like I still want it to be healthy.
As someone who went blonde slowly, and it was very expensive because it was like a couple hundred at a time, but you had to do it once a month. So it takes time and it takes a lot of money, and you have to have someone. I don't know if you remember this, but I was going blonde. I was gradually doing it. I was doing it safely. And then I went home for Christmas and I decided I can do this. I don't need her.
No.
And I wanted to be platinum. So I bought a box color from fucking Target, and I destroyed my hair. Like,
I remember that. It was like branches. It was like branches in the winter. Just like,
yeah. Like one stylist told me, she was like, I think you should just shave it. I'm being serious. I'm not just like, but there's no saving this hair. And I was like, yeah. I mean, it was like I had to braid it, you know, just to keep it from, it was terrible. So you do it safely, but like.
But when you were doing it safely, did you feel like your curls were happy?
Yeah, they were. I mean, they weren't. But I don't know what my hair is like totally natural curls. But I've been fucking with my hair with keratin or straighteners for years.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I didn't do anything to my hair until like 8 years ago. That was the first time I started like doing ombres and highlights and stuff like that. And I let it all grow out for like maybe like 8 months or something like that, and just had my natural hair color. I just don't think I remember. I forget how dark my hair was. Like that's really, you start to like forget. Like I saw a picture of myself when I didn't have any color, and I was like, I don't hate it, but I was just like, oh, I looked so different.
But anyway, like you can, if you use Olaplex.
If you use what?
Olaplex, like with, they do Olaplex treatments to keep like the integrity of the hair.
That's what I read about. I was literally reading about that.
Yep.
All right, guys, we have a special guest. We're experimenting. One of our Patreons, Richard, is going to come on and tell us one of his Googles.
Thanks for sharing your Google. What'd you Google?
I've turned 65, and I had this horrible pain in my index finger and it's starting to bend. And I said, oh, that's arthritis. But can you get arthritis in just one finger? So that's what I Googled. And yes, you can.
Is that like your texting finger?
I am 65. I do not text.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You said you had kids. I thought you loved them.
You type,
Right.
and this is how you type.
Oh, yeah, that's how my mom types.
Right.
So is there anything you can do to, other than like, I guess, take medication or anything? Like, is there anything for this?
Nothing.
You don't want to take medication for something that's so small, but we all know a paper clip is one of the most painful things that could happen to you.
Right.
So I also think arthritis in one part of your finger has to be extremely painful.
It really hurts. I thought about cutting it off.
Yeah?
Just
Did
being
you
done
seriously
with it.
consider cutting your finger off?
I found that it's really not that bad. I cut my thumb off.
Oh,
Oh,
You can-
how are you going to just come out of nowhere like a surprise like that? That's not fair at all. You did not tell us that. Now you have to tell us the story of why you have like a robot thumb.
I was finishing building a barn late at night. So there were just 2 panels at the bottom for trim that needed to be done, which means I would have to get out the table saw and do it. I didn't want to do it. And my wife said, it's just 2 pieces and we're done. I just said, I'm exhausted. I've worked 3 days straight on this. I got to work tomorrow. I'm dirty and sweaty and tired. I'll do it this next weekend. She said, please, please, please. It's just 2 pieces and we're done. We're 100%. I'll even hammer them in. So I went in the garage, I moved the stuff out, I got the table saw out, I cut a board, and she went and took it down to hammer, and I got the second one. And I keep my table saw surface waxed so things slide nice and smooth. So I cut it and I was holding it, but the off button is down here. So when I reached down to turn the power off, I slid my hand right through.
oh
it,
my God.
Cut the thumb
And
clean.
they couldn't put it back on?
No, because it went right through the bone part of it, the joint. They tried for about an hour and a half at the UVA trauma center.
And then they had to like hand you half your thumb and we're like, we're sorry for your loss.
They could not, they said they couldn't get the tiny blood vessels in between the bone because, it snaps like a rubber band. And
I
they
don't
couldn't
know
pull
that.
it out.
That's
you're-
your experience, Richard.
I didn't know that either.
You must use that as leverage against your wife to this day. Like when you're watching Netflix and she wants to watch a movie and you want to watch a movie and you're like, well, I don't like that movie. I give it 1 thumb down. And she's like, fine, fine. I don't care about your arthritis now.
Yeah, I have to say, now I'm just like, you should have all robot fingers. I think you should decorate it. I think it should have a Christmas tree for the holidays and like.
The tips are interchangeable.
Okay.
And I've actually made 3 myself that I melted aluminum and I poured them into a mold.
I mean, being crafty is what made you lose your thumb. Do you really think you should continue with all this? I think you should just give up. Everybody knows once you get hurt, you give up. And you let
Yes,
somebody else do
Mom.
all the crafty stuff.
I think the lesson to take away from all of this is once you get hurt, give up.
Yeah.
No comedians would ever be famous. All movies would end after the second act.
Nobody would ever love again. I think we all know pain isn't fun and you shouldn't do anything after you experience it. Well, I think it's cool now. I think we should just show people that you don't need all your fingers. And
Plenty
it's
of badasses with like 4 fingers. Jerry Garcia.
Yeah,
Look, and it's a conversation starter.
Exactly.
yeah, it is. And I Google a lot all the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all we do.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I know anything.
I learned how to weld by Google.
Yeah.
Saw the
And
video,
then we
I go,
see how that turned out.
Stop Googling, everybody.
You've become a cautionary tale, Richard. That's how we had you on. We're just like, Richard needs to get his life together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You want to get into Let's Get Personal?
Yeah.
Do you want to read
It
it?
is. Let's get personal. I don't remember it.
I can do it.
Please.
All right. You're 10 again. Shh, you're 10 again. You know everything you know now. What are 3 things you do differently?
Everything I know. Oh, shit. This is one of those questions I need to think about. Everything I know now, 3 things
I can go
I would
first
do
if you need me
differently.
to.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. I wrote it down. I did my homework. I was very diligent last night. I also avoided doing work all day yesterday. Like legit had 3 things. I had to like make our clip and do a couple of other things. And I'm telling you, I did it at 1 a.m. because I just like, I was like, well, I gotta cook dinner. I gotta do our Patreons. Like I did everything but the thing that needed to get done. So I finally did this. First thing, I would never quit gymnastics. I quit gymnastics a couple of times, but I finally quit it when I was 14. But I think the first time I quit it, I was like 12 because I like hated my coach. And I didn't realize that I had built up this muscle and that when I quit, I would lose it. And I kept losing. So when I would go back, I was weaker and even worse of a gymnast. So I would have never quit gymnastics. I probably would have kept doing it. My sister did gymnastics until she was in grad school. So until she was like 21, 22. And I was always jealous that she kept doing it. Even now I have fantasies about taking like private lessons and getting my back handspring and my back tuck back. I would have never quit gymnastics. That's number one, by the way. That's like, I know everything I know, and I'm still like gymnastics. Would have never quit. I would have been bouncing. I would have been Harley Quinn bouncing around. I just watched the Harley Quinn show.
Like there's a lot you can do late in life, but gymnastics isn't one of them.
Yeah, and like I still have my flexibility. I still can walk on my hands, but like because I have a lot of anxiety and I was having panic attacks at gymnastics meets, that has only gotten worse. I feel like if I could have continued to A, be in that shape, but B, keep those skills like back tucks and back handsprings, I would that exercise is so fun. And now it sounds so silly, but like when I was younger, people like did stuff and then they went to college and they stopped doing stuff unless you were going to go be professional. And now I see all these people like in their 30s and 40s parkouring and doing gymnastics. And you know who really inspired me? John Van Ness from Queer Eye. They did like some episode where he was figure skating, and I think we're like the same age. He's like 34, 35. And he started figure skating and doing gymnastics. And now he's doing like back handsprings and back tucks on stage. And I want to be that. I want to be an acrobat. Okay. So that's number one.
I always wanted to be a figure skater.
Oh my God, let's just do it. Like, let's just take lessons.
Okay. That'll be our next podcast.
Yeah. Two non-figure skaters. Second one, also pretty sad. Learn how to style my curls. I waited way too long to learn how to do my hair. And because I was in gymnastics, it was these tight buns. And I was so insecure about my looks until I met my friend Nitika, who taught me how to do my curls when I was like 21. I don't know. I just wish when I was younger that I like went on the same kind of experiment I did in my 20s to figure out how to blow dry my hair and style my hair. I just feel like I would have been such a more confident kid, teenager, young adult if I knew how to do my hair, because I feel so much better about even though this is like whatever, but I just would feel better. And then 3 is probably the most real one. Just be less scared to make mistakes or be silly. I feel like it took me until like my late 20s to just be accepting of everybody makes mistakes, and people that love you don't throw you away just because you said something dumb or made a mistake. Being silly, like even on stage, it took me so long to be silly. But around friends, it took me long to be silly. Around boyfriends, it took me long. I am so weird and silly around my friends now and like my siblings that like that's part of what I really like about myself is what a weirdo I am. And I wish I could have been that person when I was a teenager or, when I was in college, because I think I would have been a lot happier, and I think I would have connected with people in a way that I'm able to connect with them now.
You're fine.
So I think I've given you a real range. You could be as weird as saying you wish you never quit gymnastics too.
I mean, well, I do sort of wish I never quit gymnastics, but I did. I took it 1 year in 3rd grade. But anyway, I think I would tell my 10-year-old self to learn Arabic.
Okay.
But because I could have made some money translating, number one. 2, I missed out on a few opportunities in comedy because I didn't know Arabic or I didn't speak Arabic fluently.
Okay.
Quite a few.
Yeah.
More than I like to think about.
I just like
really
you're right there. You're
about
just
that.
like you have like a whole like financial log of things you could have made.
If I'd have learned Arabic, I'd have made 50,000 more pounds a year.
Were your parents trying to teach you and you revolted?
I was such a fucking redneck. I was 5. I was 5 and I was like, we're in America. We speak American, refused Arabic.
Okay.
So that was a huge mistake. Also, I'd have been able to talk to my relatives when I went to Egypt. So that's hands down number 1.
And it's just dope. Like just to be able to say you're American and you know a second language. I mean, you're already better than most people as soon as you know a different language.
Yeah. Number 2, never start smoking. Ever.
Oh yeah.
Number 3.
I like how there's no follow-up on that. You're just like,
there's nothing to say. We all know it's bad.
We all know why. No, Maria. Also, I feel like if you really, it's a 10-year-old financial log. If you knew Arabic, all the money you would have made. If you never smoked, all the money you would have still had. Sorry, that was
it
mean.
Hurts. It hurts. I was supposed to be much richer than this.
My walls are supposed to be a different color in a different place.
Yeah, exactly. God, it's dark. Okay, and then number 3. I don't really know what the third thing I would say to my 10-year-old self. I would just be like, you're fine, so just enjoy it. So lighten the fuck up, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's like both of our 3s, which is just like, it took me until probably my late 20s to stop caring what people thought of me. Like, not to say that I don't still struggle with it a little bit.
I still struggle with it a lot, yeah. Why do you think we're running to the comments? Like, do people like us?
I mean, because financially we're struggling. But comments aren't the same as like your peers. You know, even I struggled even with like, are my friends going to hate me? Like, I'm not saying I don't still struggle with it, but like I would say up until I was like 27, 28, like it would paralyze me in like decision making. And I would say something and I would think people hate me forever. And like, I don't really remember who I was at 10. Like, I really don't remember a lot of my childhood, but like, I remember all the pain I felt in my 20s. So if it was that painful for me in my 20s, I can't even imagine what it was when I was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like when it was like absolute, like school is everything, classmates are everything, friends are everything. So yeah. I've thought about it a fair amount, especially like after therapy, where I just want to hold like 7-year-old Liz and be like, none of it matters.
I know.
And none of it matters. And you don't get taller.
I think I would tell my 10-year-old self not to tear up any writing and throw it away.
Oh, that was kind of one of mine too, which is like to write more and hold on to my writing.
Well, that shit's gone forever.
Yep. Okay.
All right, before we go on, we got to talk about this. I hate walking down the street, carrying this big thing of toilet paper down the street. I don't like buying them in 4s. It's a waste of money, and you're going to need toilet paper. So you got to buy them in bulk, but then you're walking down the street with 18 rolls of toilet paper.
Because like if you have a big thing of like beer, they're like, she's going to party. But if you have a big thing of toilet paper, you're like, she has IBS. Like, it just feels too vulnerable. I mean, that's why I'm excited about our sponsor, Real Toilet Paper. Delivered.
We'll deliver it right to you. It's free in the US.
So why am I even bothering to walk when I can just get delivery for free?
Why are you bothering with 2-ply when you can get 3?
Yeah, that's what
you wrap for this.
Okay, so 3-ply toilet paper. It's made from sustainable bamboo. They give back. They give a portion to help build clean toilets for people that
2.4 million people don't have access to clean toiler around the world.
And they're trying to get that number down to zero. If you go to realpaper.com, that's REELPAPER.com, and use what promo code?
2 non-DRS 25, because it's 25% off.
Of what?
The whole price.
I feel like we're not laying each other up correctly.
25% off what? Your first subscription or first order? I was all of it.
We love Real. We're happy that they're our sponsor. They're doing good stuff.
Now let's get back to the show.
I feel like this almost bleeds into the let's get personal where the topic is. And just so you know, talk about like avoiding work and like doing my homework for our podcast. So our topic is self-help books. And I went and our shelves, my bookshelf is like pure chaos. Like it's not big enough for all my books. Mm-hmm. So I literally had to take all my books down and I went through every single one and found every self-help book I had on my shelf. Then I found every self-help book I have on my Nook. And then I tried to remember every self-help book I read before, like when I was borrowing the books from my dad and stuff. I still think I'm probably missing 10 to 15 books, but I have about almost 30 books on my list.
We have so much to unpack with self-help because, I mean, you have a special called Self-Help Me. You have a history of self-help. You've been reading self-help books since you were 12, when most of us were having normal childhoods, because your father is into self-help. So he made you be into self-help. So what were you were reading, like?
How to Win Friends and Influence People, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Well, that worked out. Look at us.
Yeah. Influencing people.
You are all being bamboozled.
Yeah. Awaken the Giant Within.
Which is a huge book.
Dude, I've been trying to get some books off my bookshelf and donate them. It's the first one I donated. I was like, I cannot look at Tony Robbins' face. I think Think and Grow Rich was a book my dad gave me when I was in high school. Some of them I can't remember if like, I think I might have read I'm Okay, You're Okay because my dad read it in like the 70s and he gave it to me. Dude, I mean, my list is fucking crazy. At some point, we'll talk about the ones that I actually think have value. My theory on self-help books is that they do have some value, and they have helped a lot of people pull themselves out of a place where they felt helpless and hopeless. I think that's why there's such a huge market, and I think that's why they continue to get made, and that's why I think they continue to sell. All that being said, I think they're an addiction. The way they're written lights something up in you that makes you feel like you're doing something, even though you're not like, especially because I'm a highlighter. Almost any book that is like a factual book, whether it's like learning about childhood trauma to, I don't know, like I said, how to win friends and influence people, something that feels like you're bettering yourself. I have a highlighter out. I'm circling things. I'm highlighting. So I read them with the intent to learn and to get better. And that feels educational, and that feels like progress, just reading them alone. But because these books are written in a way that breaks them down, which is a great way of learning, which breaks them down into bite-sized pieces and shows you not only what you should be doing, the power of doing this aspect and how to incorporate it in your current life. While you're reading them, it just makes you feel like you're doing step one. And as soon as the book goes down, you'll do step 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you'll be a millionaire, or you'll be likable, or you'll be 6'4", or whatever Tony Robbins is. There's something about them that make you feel active. But what I've learned is you're reading them. It's almost like having a coach that's like, you got this. You're going to be the coolest person. You're going to be rich. And you're like, thank you, Tony. And then you put it down. You live off that high for like a week. Then you don't do anything, or you do like one thing, and then you read another book.
That's exactly my experience with it. I'll read a self-help book. It makes a lot of sense to me. It does fuel me for a week, but I forget all the principles. I forget everything. And it's like, I either need like an actual life coach that's constantly drilling this stuff in. Like Gary Vee is in your face every day, telling you basically the same thing. And I was just listening to Mel Brown again for this, and I forgot. I was like, oh my God, like, I should post something right now. And, you know, and like, it's all very inspiring for a minute, and you forget, and you go back to where you were. So it's like candy or something. It's like cotton candy, where it just sort of, it's like, and then it dissolves in your mouth, and it's.
But I do think there's a high, and then I think there's a plunge. Like, I really do think you have like a come down from like this energy that they build in you. And so I'm not going to say I haven't learned stuff from self-help books. I'm not going to say that they haven't helped me or inspired me or kept me on task. Like I said, I've probably read over 30, and then it gets to this weird slippery slope where it's led me more to psychology books and learning about my past and learning about like, is Codependency No More considered a psychology book or a self-help book?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like, you know what books I have on this list? Blink and Outliers and David and Goliath, all those, what's the author's name?
Malcolm
Gladwell books. Now, those are more researchy books, but I'm not joking. They make me feel the same empowered way that self-help books, because basically they have a thesis, and then these stories and experiences are led to make you be like, this is why outliers are important. This is why having like David and Goliath is about like kind of learning disabilities, or like one of the basic principles is talking about dyslexia and learning disabilities and how they're not a disability and how it makes you awesome, whatever. Then there's that other thing where like I'm clearly, and I've read tons of books like Malcolm Gladwell's books. Like I'm reading a book right now I'm in the middle called Range. I think Outliers is where the 10,000 hour rule came from. And everybody's like, you know, you got to do 10,000 hours to be good at something and blah, blah, blah. And then all these books came out that were like, that's garbage. And Range is one of those things that it's, and again, I'm not that far into it, but it's countering that, saying that actually having a little bit of experience with a bunch of stuff is what makes people experts and makes people have, makes them real entrepreneurs, because, you know, they were in the military for 5 years and then they worked at this place for 5 years and they learned this skill over here, and putting all three of those together is what makes them unique and valuable. My dad's the same way. I love biographies of people succeeding. I love hearing stories of, you know, everybody loves the underdog story, which a lot of self-help books will take an underdog story to show a point that anybody can do something, and use that as a through line to show that this principle that I'm telling you is worth doing
Yeah,
because
it's
look
always
at
like
Joe Schmo.
Sarah was living in her parents' basement for 5 years after her divorce, feeling lethargic and never having the energy to go out and do anything. Sarah decided that in 5 minutes she's going to blah 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 blah, and then it shows how she like pulled
Yeah.
herself out of this impossible situation, and then now she's CEO of fucking Google.
Yeah, so you just have to live by these 5 principles and da 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 da. So I think that's what you're kind of addicted to, is like we're all nobodies, you know, and we have our health problems, we have our emotional issues, we have our life issues, we have our financial issues, and they're saying no. Everyone has those, and they did it, so you can do it, and this is how you're going to do it. And it just feels like a mentor, or like that kind of parental figure that comes in and almost mentally rescues you and tells you it's going to work out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. You know what one I put on the list that I was at first, I was like, no, it's not a self-help book. And then I was like, no, it is. Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up.
That's definitely a self-help book.
Absolutely. It's telling you that if your home is clean and organized, you'll be clean and organized, and everything will line up in your life. Also, it shouldn't have been as big as it is, and I have a lot of anger towards that book.
No, it's a paper.
It is. It's a blog. It's a long blog that she turned into a book, and there's like huge sections that I was like, I don't need. This is garbage.
I'll be honest though, I think I only read that book once, and I still use the principles right now. Like all my shirts are stacked up.
It was life-changing.
And I have a suitcase I feel bad about getting rid of because my parents gave it to me, but like it's huge and cumbersome, and I have another suitcase. It's like, just thank it for its service and send it on its way. It's like still works. It still works.
It does. No, it's good, but it should have never been a book. That's just how I feel. Oh, one that you would be proud of me, and I remember it actually did have an influence on me. It's a Deepak Chopra book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. That is actually the how big. It's super thin, and it should have been the same. That's how the Tidying Up book should have been that thin. I was pissed because like Deepak didn't put any filler in there. He's like, these are the laws, do them, don't do them. It's 9 pages. And she was like, once I met a t-shirt, it was a great t-shirt. I love this t-shirt. Let me describe this t-shirt. And I'm like, oh my God, lady, I cannot read this right now. But like, I remember reading that, feeling really stuck in my career, feeling really unseen and not valued, and reading that book, and it made me feel better. Like sometimes I do believe that they have that help because maybe you can't talk to a friend about it, or maybe nobody else is going down this path. Like how many comics don't know any comics, especially in the beginning, and you just feel alone with how hard and lost and confusing and unfair this world feels. And until you have a close friend that's going through it too, you just kind of feel like maybe I'm the only person being ignored, or I'm the only person not getting spots. So it just kind of helped to read that, and it did make me feel better. And I do feel like the only principle I really remember is like being supportive. And that was the funny thing, is that like I found myself, I was so financially strapped when I read this book that people would be like, hey, do you want to come to my one-woman show? It's a $20 cover. And I'd be like, I can't, like, I don't have it. And then I read that book and I was like, I can find $20. If I can find $20 to go get food once. And I was like truly not doing it. I wasn't going to the movies. I wasn't going out to eat. Like every penny I was counting because I was trying to do stand-up full time. It was the first thing that I was like, being there for others, even if it's a little bit outside my financial budget at the time, is worth it. And I think it really brought me closer to other people. Like I made friends because people are like, well, do you want to come to my one-woman show? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll be there. And I didn't ask for a free ticket. I was just like, it's worth doing it once a month to support somebody. And that, A, it made me feel good, but B, it showed the community that I care about what they're doing.
That just shows you weren't living in the UK coming up, because like everyone has a 1-hour show. It's just like, it's a lot of 5-pound shows.
But that's the only principle I actually remember about the supporting thing. And I learned it over and over again, which is like, we know the importance of comments and likes and subscribes and what that does for the algorithm and stuff. So I was receiving all this stuff and I was really grateful, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing it back. So now I'm like, I'm a liking fiend. I'm just like, I like you, I comment on you. If I see, I love, art. So if I look at something and there's art I like, even if it's just like, I love this, like just something to show, I know that comment helps.
You don't want to like give praise to other people because you feel like for some reason that's taking away praise from yourself. Like there's almost so much praise to go around. And so it's like you keep it to yourself or something. Like if you build them up, you go lower. Like it's not true, but.
Yeah, I actually don't feel that way about praise. My hang up on praise is I think it makes me not look weak. I don't know. For some reason, it makes me feel being a fan when you're an artist makes you seem like less valuable, because I almost feel like you can't be an artist and a fan. And so I had to really fight that, to believe that I can, like, yes, I don't want to like extremely fangirl somebody, because I see how that can make me uncomfortable, and I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. But I can go, hey, I really enjoy your work, and support other people's work and be a fan of theirs, while also having my own work that is valuable enough to have fans. So there was some kind of, and I don't know where I learned that, but I did have some kind of mental blockage that real artists aren't fans themselves, or they don't show their fandom, which is weird.
I want to ask you, like, what kinds of self-help books do you go for? Do you go for the ones about success and money?
Yeah. So mine is about talent, success, emotional. I have 2 books called Emotional Intelligence. So clearly some kind of controlling my emotions or understanding my emotions. Oh, happiness. I went through a happiness phase. I was super depressed and I was unhappy. I don't have memories from when I was younger, but let's just say from like 14 to 27, I was just like deeply unhappy. And so I just thought I never could be happy. So I have so many books on like theories of happy, how you can be happy, the happiness hypothesis, Zen and the art of happiness, calming your anxious mind. Oh, other things that have to do with like willpower, the power of habit, the talent code. Subtitle is greatness. Greatness isn't born, it's grown. Anything where you're not born with something, that you develop it on your own, because I just felt like I had no innate talent. I'm dyslexic. I don't feel very smart. Everything is a lot harder for me. Even just understanding concepts, it takes me a lot longer than most people. So because I don't feel innately intelligent, I've always struggled to control my emotions, understand my emotions, label my emotions, not be emotional. I want to do an episode on autism, but I now follow a girl on TikTok that talks about autism in females, because it's very rarely diagnosed in females. So boys are labeled autistic pretty young, 2, 3, 4 years old. Women isn't until they're teenagers, until they're like 13, 14. So this girl talks about how it looks different in women. And so sometimes I look at it and I'm like, am I autistic? But I think it's just emotional issues. I've always struggled with labeling my emotions, understanding my emotions, having the right emotion I always go right to anger or crying. Like there's no in between. And How to Win Friends and Influence People was a really important book for me, because it allowed me, and I know it was an important book for my father. I felt like I wasn't raised with the normal skills of how to associate with people. And this gave me like parameters. It like told me like, shake someone's hand, ask them their name, look them in the eye. Like the same way that I wasn't taught how to dress and I didn't know how to dress, so that I looked at other short women and I would see a dress on them or a pair of pants and I'd be like, that looks good. They have a similar body type to me.
You've done that to me.
I do. I'll look at you and I'll go, oh my God, you look good in that. And then I steal your style. I've absolutely stole your style. And then I steal your clothes. I've told you, I was like, I like that. And you're like, fine, you can have that. The Power of Focus is one. The Tao of Pooh. I love being organized, getting organized in the Google era.
Why do you think that some of these self-help books actually stuck with you? Like what makes a self-help book good rather than fluff?
I think you have to stay connected to it. It can't literally be fluff. It can't be like, you got this. Like one that I think is general fluff. I read Russell Simmons' Do You? And basically what Russell Simmons did was just took philosophies from every self-help book and every like religion and then just kind of like made it his own. But it was just kind of like Tony Robbins said and Taoism says, and you're just like, okay, I get that. But like, and it clearly helped him and I'm happy it did. But like, I just read it and I was like, this is just watered down garbage.
He's just regurgitating other shit, which is
exactly
what we do. But
what we do. I was gonna say. We just read something off Google and make it cute. Okay, so like I said, I do read these self-help books like I'm in school. Like I truly am highlighting and whatever. I think things will kind of come out, and if I I think a big key is you have to be open to change and you have to acknowledge that there's a problem. Because I've always said the biggest problem with self-help books is there's blind spots, which is if you can't acknowledge it's a problem or see that it's a problem, you can read something that 100% applies to you and go, well, that doesn't apply to me. But if you read it, knowing me as well as you do, you'd be like, absolutely, that applies to you. But if I'm not ready to hear that and I'm not able to acknowledge it, nothing's going to get done. And that's where I think therapy, group therapy, even just having a close friend that can call you on your shit has so much value. So the problem with self-help is you can only fix what you know about and what you're willing to fix. And so you can progress in this area of your life and just be completely oblivious and detrimental to yourself over here and not understand why you're not super successful because you're weirdly just spinning in circles because you're only fixing one side of the problem. So I was always able to acknowledge that I am extremely emotional. I've known that since I was a kid. I've always had emotional issues. Maybe I didn't label it that way, but now I understand that I have certain mental illnesses. I have a certain childhood trauma, and whether it's my personality, being Italian, I don't know. I am a very emotional person. So I think that combination and being able to acknowledge that has made me, like those two emotional intelligence books. I read two, they're both by different authors. One's called Emotionally Intelligence 2.0. The other one's just called Emotional Intelligence, and it's by completely different authors. But I clearly was going through a phase where I was like, I'm not responding to life correctly. That's the only conclusion I came to.
Yeah.
When someone says something to me, my reaction is wrong. And so I feel like I have become more self-aware, both with therapy, but also books have helped me understand that a good example, we've talked about it in private, is that somebody, a boyfriend, a friend will say like, hey, you did this and it upset me. And the wrong response is to be mad or to blame them or to be shitty about it. And I've always been very defensive. I've always taken any criticism, even if it's extremely minor, very personal, and become very resentful, wouldn't talk to anybody about it. And it could literally be like, hey, dude, you keep showing up late to our podcast and it upsets me. And I would be like, well, I didn't mean to upset you. And like, fucking, I'm busy and you know that. And I texted you yesterday that I might be like, it would just, instead of being like, hey, you're right. And your time is just as valuable. And like, it took me so long to get to a place where I wouldn't be angry at you for just voicing something that is completely reasonable. But this is the other thing. I don't read one book about emotional intelligence. I read like 7.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned about myself, I'm a slow learner in general, but I need, just like you were talking about Gary Vee, I need to be like hit over the head 90 times with the same information and I'll come out remembering and using 2.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever reads a full self-help book and abides by all the principles. You find one principle and you're like, I'll work on this principle.
I feel like my entire Audible collection is all self-help because I don't have to face a person. I got
also
Take Control of Your Life, Mel Robbins. She also had the 5-second rule to change your life or whatever. It was like, just
okay.
do it. You have 5 seconds to do it without thinking about it. The 4 Agreements, The War of Art, the
It's crazy. We don't have a lot of crossover.
Key Person of Influence I never got to, and Entrepreneur Revolution. Mine are a lot about money, and I'm in the worst financial situation.
I feel like we should leave Yelp reviews on every single one of these, being like, I'm still poor.
I'm still poor. Dave Ramsey's money book. Like I've had so many.
Did you read 4 Hour Work Week by
Tim Ferriss?
Tim Ferriss.
No, I didn't. I had it.
I shouldn't have read it.
I remember having it in LA, but I never Think and Grow Rich.
I read it too early. That book should be like, this is for people. Like my dad made fun of me. My dad is the one that gave it to me. And he goes, maybe you could work up to 4 hours. That was his favorite joke. Thought it was the funniest thing. I read it. I shouldn't have read it. It was for people that are like, have businesses and people working under them and how to be more efficient. And my dad wasn't wrong. I have none of that. It's even today, the 4 Hour Work Week doesn't apply to me. Okay. It just was so misrepresented, or at least maybe my dad misrepresented. It was great for my dad who has a business.
You're one of the emotionally smartest people I've met, but you've been through years of therapy. So it's hard to tell if it's the self-help books or the therapy or a mix of the two. Your father, however, has never gone to therapy, but he has been reading self-help books for years. Do you think they've changed him, like for the better, whatever the better is?
I think they empowered my dad. I think they helped my dad become successful. I think it helped my dad become a good business person. I think my dad has some more understanding of his issues, even if he hasn't fixed them. I think he desperately, and I've had this conversation, he desperately needs therapy. And there's so many blind spots that self-work doesn't help with. The other thing is my dad doesn't have a lot of close friends. He has people that respect him and love him, but he doesn't have somebody that's on the same par as him that he can talk openly with. And when you don't have that, I really think therapy is immense. And I have tons of very close friends that I can just be brutally honest with, but I still think even with that, therapy is, you might be scared to say something to me because you don't want to hurt our friendship or hurt my feelings. My therapist doesn't have that. My therapist has said some stuff where I've hated her days afterwards. I was like, fuck her. Like I would have like self-talk where I was like, fuck her. She doesn't know me. 5 years into therapy, I was like, you don't know me. Like, just like really like hating her. And it's actually become a signal to me that if I'm mad at my therapist, she hit something right on the head that I wasn't ready.
That's something
really
I learned in therapy too, because I did hate the last therapist I went to, and I know it's just because she was right about some shit. But
yeah, and you're just not, and it just hurts too much.
I don't think you can sub self-help in lieu of therapy.
I think it'd be a stepping stone. I don't think it's a replacement at all.
I feel like this is a topic we're gonna have to revisit.
Yeah, I think we can revisit it. Maybe when we revisit it, we can talk about the books that I did find helpful, because I have 3 that I read in my mid-20s, changed my life. And even them being self-help books is almost kind of where I talk about is Outliers or Blink or David and Goliath, those Malcolm Gladwell books, are they considered self-help, even if they might just be written in that same inspirational tone? But I do have books that changed the course of my life and empowered me and made me feel I had more value to give, and I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't read them. But I think they're written differently, and I think they're few and far between. Like I have,
and to find out, join us next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no.
So maybe that's something. I could talk about them now.
I want to know.
Let's do this. I'll say what they are, and then maybe we can talk about another episode or do a bonus episode or something. But my three books that have changed my life, specifically for me, was The Dyslexic Advantage. A lot of people have found my comedy because I did a 20-minute conference. I did a 20-minute talk at a conference by the same name. And the doctors that wrote it are awesome. I love them. So for me, as somebody that had a learning disability, it was the only book I ever read that talked about the benefits of dyslexia. A First Rate Madness it's not written as a self-help book, but it's basically history as a way to show how mental illness is actually beneficial and empowering. So the thesis of A First Rate Madness is about all the historical figures that had some form of mental illness. Martin Luther King being depressed, Abraham Lincoln being depressed, Ulysses S. Grant having mental issues. He even brings up Hitler, talking about, what a great leader he was, but clearly not a good leader, a good person. But what his mental illness, what about it made him the leader that he was, because he was effective, sadly. But like that book was the first book that ever talked about the benefits of mental illness and how it's not just a completely thing that just makes you somebody that nobody wants to be around, which is how people kind of portray mental illness. You're crazy, medicate yourself, get away. Mm-hmm. And then Give and Take is about why being a person that gives and gives to others without needing anything back, why it's important, why it's makes you more successful. And besides just being a good person and feeling good about it, it's like how to be a good person correctly almost, and not get to take advantage by shitty people, but also why it's important. And I was at a place in my life where I was giving and feeling like I was being taken advantage of, and that I was starting to feel like maybe I shouldn't be a nice person. Like I really did. And it was like the perfect book at the perfect time. And like all 3 of those books I think about every week. So I do think there are benefits, but I do think it took me 40 books to get there. 3 books out of 40 books that actually had an impact.
Well, look, I'm going to read Give and Take, and then we can discuss that when we bring these back up.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
So I think I would love to hear what self-help books were empowering to you guys. If you were like addicted and you broke the addiction, if you think they're trash, if you think they're like trashy magazines, but for empowerment. I would love to hear people's experience, because I'm being honest, I still read them. I'm much more selective about them as I was before. Like my older sister started to read more lately, like, How to Not Give a Fuck, or like those kind of things.
Oh yeah, I read that. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need it. I already don't.
Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
there was a point in time where all the self-help books had to have the fuck or the F word in it.
Yeah. One worked, and all of a sudden they were just like, how this motherfucker took over a mountain and changed their fucking life. And you're like, all right, guys.
Buddha?
All right.
Talking about Buddha?
Down.
Yeah, that motherfucker.
Bye, Buddha. Like, But we appreciate you. Thank you to everybody that has joined our Patreon, everybody that subscribes, everyone that leaves comments, likes, sends these to people. We are so grateful. And of course, you can write to us at 2non-doctors. That's 2non full word doctors, number 2 at gmail.com. And follow us on Instagram. Or we appreciate we now have like a couple 20-something episodes, so we're out there.
Yay!
Changing lives.
Get a sticker.
Get a sticker. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.